Are you looking for something a little different? Are you looking for something maybe more vegetarian? I have the perfect dish for you here. This is Babish's chickpea stew, also called Chana Masala. This is delicious just by itself, topped with a little Greek yogurt in place of sour cream, or you can put it on top of rice. It's your call, but it is delicious either way, and it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is going to be, surprise, surprise, someone else's. This is a recipe I found early on in my weight loss journey, and I actually haven't made it in what the kids say, a hot minute. And by kids, I mean Jennifer, Lynn, and Bree. They always say it. It's not my normal thing, but I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon. But I have not had this in a while, so I thought this would be a great one to make for the channel, and I would have it available for my lunch, because that's typically how I eat it. Now this one comes from Babish. Many of you may know who that is. Very popular YouTuber. Believe the channel name is Babish Culinary University, but I will put that down here if that isn't correct, which it could be. But he does basics with Babish, binging with Babish, different types of videos. This one I got from a basics with Babish for chickpeas, and I will leave the link to his video down below in the description box. This is for a chickpea stew. It's an Indian dish which is called Chana Masala, but to make it easier on us Americans, I assume, he just called it chickpea stew. But I would often make this for lunch and have it with like a pita and some Greek yogurt, non-fat Greek yogurt, as a sour cream. It is or can be a little spicy. It depends on what you put into it. If you don't like it spicy, you can leave out the peppers, the little chilies that I'm gonna be using, and put in like maybe some green peppers that you've sauteed. But let us go over the ingredients that I am putting in the dish, so that you know what we are going to work with. There is some Pam cooking spray. In his recipe, he used olive oil. I am not using olive oil. I also have some pepper and salt, which will be to taste at the end. I have the star of the show, the chickpeas, and when I input these into the recipe builder, they were coming up as bites, which, as many of us know, if you're on the Better Balance plan of Healthi or the old blue plan of WW, these are 0. So I had to correct that in the app. And if you're not sure how to do that, I just posted a tutorial on using the Healthi recipe builder. So I'll put a card up here so you can go check that out if you are following Healthi and want to know more about inputting things, even deleting things from the recipe builder. I have about 14 ounces of crushed tomatoes. He suggested a 14-ounce can. I only get the big cans, so I put about half in there. If it's a little more, a little less, it's not gonna matter. Minced up a small onion because you don't want big chunks in this. I have a half a can of the green chilies, the small can of green chilies. He calls for just half a can, so that's what I'm going to put in. You could put in more if you chose to. I usually just add a little hot sauce to it at the table if it's not spicy enough for me, because I like it spicy. I have here a tablespoon of tomato paste. I have a tablespoon of minced garlic. He only calls for 2 cloves of garlic, which is 2 teaspoons, but I enjoy garlic, so I bumped it up a little bit. Now here's where we get into the spices, and some of them you may not have heard of before, some of them you probably don't have in your pantry, but I will give you alternatives that you will likely have in your pantry. Now the First thing I have here is 1 tablespoon of garam masala. I'm sure it's not a common spice blend in most people's homes, but this is a blend of probably like 10 to 12 spices. So you get a whole lot of flavor in that garam masala. And different places make it different ways, you know, but if you don't have garam masala, if you don't want to go out and buy garam masala, which you really should because it is a very versatile spice blend, what you can do in place of that, you could replace that with 2.5 teaspoons of cumin and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. That would approximate it, although like I said, there are like 10 to 12 spices in there, and it's hard to approximate just by using 2 because there is a real depth of flavor in there. But if you don't want to go out of your way, that's what you can use in place of that. I have 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger here. I have 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. That's another one that you may or may not have heard of or have in your pantry. Turmeric is said to have a lot of health benefits. It's supposedly anti-inflammatory. It's supposed to help prevent cancer and Alzheimer's and benefit your heart health. So there's a lot of talk about using turmeric as far as a health benefit. If you don't have turmeric and don't want to get turmeric, what you can do is add another 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. Turmeric and ginger are from the same family, but ginger is a little more potent than turmeric, so you'd only use half as much. Or you could use 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard, not prepared mustard, the powdery dry stuff. Turmeric is used in mustard, so there's some connection there as far as flavor, so that is also an option. I have 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom, and I mentioned this in another video where I was doing my spice blends, and I'll put a card up here for that one if you missed out on my holiday spice blends. Even though the holidays are over, those spice blends, I use them year round, so they're not just for the holidays anymore. But again, if you don't have cardamom, it can be a little expensive. You can replace that with a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then over here, I have a teaspoon of ground coriander. Coriander is the seed of the cilantro plant. And even though I'm not a fan of cilantro, coriander does not bother me. Apparently, totally different flavor profiles from the seed to the plant. And again, coriander may be something you don't have available to you or don't want to use. So in place of that, you could use a teaspoon of cumin, which is somewhat similar, or you could use a 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder. Curry powder is also a blend of spices. Half as much curry powder, because it is more potent than coriander, would do in a pinch. Okay, so that is all the ingredients. Now, I'm gonna just shuffle these things out of the way a little bit, because the reason that the chickpeas are still in their can is because I wanted to show you that you can save the liquid from the chickpeas. You can actually use the liquid from any beans, although chickpeas and white beans are considered the best generically, and the liquid from here is called aquafaba. You may or may not have heard that term before. And aquafaba is often used, especially in vegan cooking, for an egg white replacement. You can use the aquafaba to make meringues, to make a mousse. So I'm going to save my aquafaba here and find some use for it. I did see a chocolate mousse recipe that I thought would be interesting. So there may be an aquafaba chocolate mousse coming up sometime soon, if it works. But I do have other recipes that I'm doing. Don't worry, Susan, I am working on your coffee bars. But the first thing I'm going to do is just shake this up a little bit just to get, you know how the heavier stuff will settle at the bottom. I want to kind of stir that around, get that moving so that it's not a lot of heavy stuff down at the bottom. Now, aquafaba does not have as much protein as an egg white. So if you need to watch your protein, there are people who do need to keep their protein levels low. This might be a good option for you if you need to do something with egg whites. What you should do if you are whipping them up, which is generally how they'd be used, because they do get very frothy, just like egg whites, is put a little cream of tartar in there just to stabilize it, because the aquafaba can kind of like start to revert to its original state after a while, and that cream of tartar will help. But so I got a good amount, and you can see it's fairly thick, very much like egg yolk. I'm just going to leave that right over there for now. Let me shuffle a few things around and we will get started cooking. Okay, so I have my pan over medium heat. Just going to spray it with some cooking spray and then add in the onion. And we're just going to cook these for about 2 minutes. We're going to do what they call sweating the onions. We're not trying to brown them. We're just trying to get some of that liquid to come out. We'll let them sweat in there a little bit. And they are picking up a little color from the cooking spray, but that's fine. This is going to be a tomato sauce, so you're not really going to notice it. But we're going to let this sweat for 2 minutes. Then we're going to throw in the garlic. I'll be back when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so it's been 2 minutes. I'm going to add in my garlic. You just want that to mix in so that it's not just sitting by itself on the bottom. And it should get fragrant almost right away. You're just kind of heating that through a little bit. Now the next things we're going to add in, when you're using spices, you want to wake them up a little bit. And usually by adding them in now with the onions, a little bit of the cooking spray, it definitely helps to wake up their flavor. And for some reason, Babish has you put in the garam masala later. I don't do that. I put it in with the rest of the spices. And our tomato paste. It's just 1 tablespoon. There's not really much tomato paste in there. We're just going to stir this around. We're not really trying to cook the spices. We're just waking them up and letting that tomato paste cook a little bit. What we're going to add in, chickpeas first, not for any particular reason, but just to get them out of that aquafaba. And the tomato sauce, the crushed tomatoes, not tomato sauce, that's a different thing. This is just plain crushed tomatoes. And our green chilies. Now we're going to stir this all together. Now, besides just imparting some flavor, that tomato paste is also going to help to thicken up the crushed tomatoes a little bit. Obviously not enough to make this a real stew. So what we're going to do now is to just let them sit here and cook about 10 or 15 minutes so that that sauce will thicken up, and it's pretty much almost done. That's how quick this is to come together. So I'm going to let this stew for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like then. While this is stewing, you do want to stir it because it will start to percolate a little bit. It's only over medium, so it's not going to really boil, but you do want to percolate it and let some of that moisture evaporate so it gets a nice, thick, dense stew. Okay, so it's been probably about 12, 13 minutes, and it's getting nicely thickened. You can see when I run the spatula through it, The tomato doesn't just come back together immediately. It leaves a path there, and that's perfect thickness for me. So I did taste it, and it needs a bit of salt. So you salt and pepper at the end, especially salt. If you salt early in the process and it's reducing down, when it reduces, that salt is going to get stronger. So that's why when you're reducing something, it's best to add the salt at the end so that you're not over salting without realizing it. Because you could taste the beginning product and it would be bland, so you'd throw in some salt, and by the time it reduced down, that salt would be very overpowering. So it's best to salt anything that's going to be reduced at the end. And there you have it. That is all it takes. And you have a delicious zero-bite vegetarian meal. Now, I'm not vegetarian, but I will have this alone for lunch. As I said, I'll just have it with a pita, maybe like some sort of wrap, and just put some in, put a little Greek yogurt in place of sour cream, and it's zero. Now, Babish on his channel recommends serving it over rice, which would also be great if you were doing it as a dinner or as a side. I mean, this is 0 bites, 0 blue points, so you would only have to count the rice. And as I said, if you didn't want it spicy, you didn't have to add the green chilies, although they're rather mild. You could just mince up a little bit of green pepper and add that in, or just leave it out altogether. I'll enjoy this for a few days for lunch. And it serves 4. Babish didn't actually list it as serving anything. I'm listing it as serving 4 just because of the calories. But honestly, I could eat about 1/3 of this at one time. Still 0 bites for me. Obviously, the calories and macros would change, but you use whatever recipe builder, calorie tracker, whatever you're doing. You use that and follow your plan the way you do. But this is a really healthy, delicious, meatless meal. Now, I've told you this is 0 bites, 0 of the old blue points. I'm on the Healthi, formerly iTrack Bites, Better Balance plan. And that is equivalent to the old WW Blue plan. So you can figure out from there what your personal points would be based on the blue plan, but it would be 0 on either of those. Now, if you're following calories, the calories on this would be 226 for 1/4 of this. And if you're following macros, the fat would be 1.6 grams, the carbs would be 42.1 grams, and the protein would be 12.9 grams. So there you have it, Babish's chickpea stew, or if you go with the Indian name, Chana Masala. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this recipe, and if you did, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share this video or any of my videos if you think there's someone out there that this would be helpful for. And hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video, like the ones I was talking about for the Healthi app tutorials. I threw one up on the previous Sunday for editing foods, this past Sunday for the recipe builder, and I attached a little one on the end of my omelet video for how to do a quick ad if you already know the bites of the food. So I will leave the links to those videos down in the description box in case you are interested. And also comment down below, have you ever tried Chana Masala? Do you enjoy chickpeas? And how would you like to serve this? Would you be serving it with rice, with a low bite, low point wrap, or pita? Now, since this is not my recipe, it will not be on my blog, but I will write it up down below in the description box. And in case you're not sure how to get to the description box, under this video where it says the name of my channel, Recipes with Roy, you'll see it saying show more. Just tap that and it'll open up the description box for you. And there I will have this recipe as well as the link to Babish's channel, He does like 4 different recipes using chickpeas, and one of them is a meringue using the aquafaba, if anyone is interested in watching that. So that will be down in the description box below, as is the link to my recipe blog for any of my recipes, my Amazon storefront. If I've used something that you were interested in, it may be there. My Fetch rewards and my Built Bar rewards, those should all be down below, as well as links to my social media. Now here is my Instagram handle if you want to follow me over there. And there are 2 Facebook groups that I'm part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy, and the other one is Finding Our Way, WEIGH. And that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, of course, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. So join us over there, lots of great tips, tricks, recipes, support, and people. So I am going to go pack this up so it's ready for my lunch tomorrow, although I may sneak a little bit now. Just don't tell anyone. So until next time, bye.